20 Camaro for structural mechanical and Albert Race engines. Why do I like this matchup? John Vergatz has been doing a lot of testing in the Dark Knight Camaro and has proven himself to be a contender here in Schweitzer Dynamics Pro Nitrous. Billy Albert at this race last year had one of the weirdest endings to a race day I've seen, I think, ever. But he has looked good here with Ricky Smith, tuning that machine for him.
Most definitely. And I can guarantee you now on the checklist in Billy Albert's trailer, it's checked to make sure the starter solenoid is tight, which is the wildest thing. I've never seen that in drag racing, of just a starter solenoid falling off as he came to the ready line and cost Billy Albert a chance at a final round last year. But I can tell you he is here to avenge that this season. And John Vergatt's right side has looked pretty solid in the first two outings, making some big moves in that team. And Billy Albert really is one that I think is kind of a dark horse, like walk quiet, carry a big stick kind of guy, and has made some good laps so far this season.
I wouldn't really call him a dark horse, though, because, like you said at the last race, this race last year, had a great performance and honestly had an opportunity to win it all and had a weird, catastrophic failure.
Most definitely. And coming off a career best of laps time at Virginia, they have to have a little bit of confidence. Had a good day of testing yesterday. So Billy Albert, left-hand side, may be the one to watch in this pair.
Tree fires in there off. Vergatz goes into tire shake, but look at Billy Albert. 374.4 at 206, was 968 down low, 253.4 through the middle, and goes right to number one.
Said it right there. That's a prime Ricky Smith run right off the ramps this morning for Q1, 374.4. Puts it right in that range that I thought was out there. 204 miles per hour. Ricky's got to be pretty happy with that for Billy. Billy will be happy to see that light up on the lamps and continue on into his quest for a little bit of revenge here at Maryland this season.
Make sure we're all clear on the top end, then we'll fire our next pair. But that's a pretty substantial run for Billy Albert. We talked on it before they started the session. You want to go A to B. He did it pretty rapidly. That's a great place to be sitting when you come up for Q2 a little later on this afternoon. Another great matchup right here in Q1. Buddy Perkinson on the left-hand side of the racetrack out of North Prince George, Virginia, the LAT Oil 69 Camaro for Brown Line Construction, and Tim Molnar, the Bad Santa 2023 Camaro out of Seville, Ohio for Albert Race Engines, ARC Gas, Ricky Smith Racing, and Jim Attachments. And Tyler, I don't remember the numbers that Buddy ran yesterday in testing, but kind of shocked some people when he came out and laid down a low number. And I think it was the third session?
I do believe it was the third session.
Or fourth, I don't know.
I think it was third session. Buddy came up here and went 372. Made some good early numbers runs in T1. Don't even know if he made the second session, but I know that team is working with a refreshed Pat Busey Racing engines between the frame rails. Tim Molnar right side relying on Billy Albert horsepower, who has to have a little bit of confidence after seeing Billy Albert and his teammate go 374, albeit on the other side of the racetrack, but you have to be a little bit confident knowing that you have something close to that in your race car.
We talk about tuners all the time up here because that's a crucial part to these operations, and again, Ricky Smith tuning on Molnar's machine. He's got to be confident pulling up there, and hopefully Buddy Perkinson can duplicate what he laid down yesterday. I think that's the goal right here for that team. If they do so, they can go to number one.
Yep, Jeff Pierce on that side of the racetrack for Buddy P. Two drivers that are currently number 6 and number 7 in the championship point standings need a prime time weekend to put themselves into championship contention. Both drivers need that start, and that start happens right here in round number 1 of qualifying. Buddy Perkinson, Tim Molnar, your next two.
Okay, Molnar gets on the chip early. Buddy's 2000 red to the top end. This pair goes. How about a 383 at 200 for Buddy? 387 at 195 for Molnar here on the right-hand side. And again, that A to B hit, I think they wanted to be a little quicker than that, but
most definitely.
They're on the sheet and not in bad shape.
Both down on speed, really. Buddy 200, Tim Molnar 195. Not the lap that they wanted. You saw Buddy's car go out, get the front end in the air, kind of about what you want in these conditions, and all of a sudden it just slammed down to the racetrack, almost like it either jumped through a gear on the transmission or a kit didn't come on or something like that. Very odd for Buddy's car right there to go out and just slam the front end back down to the ground, which is probably why you only saw a 383 out of that lap.
So again, another great matchup right here in Q1. Tim Papp, Tommy Franklin. Papp on the left-hand side. Out of Charleston, Illinois, the 2016 Corvette for KTR and Papp Auto Body. Holly on board that machine. And Tommy Franklin here on the right-hand side of the racetrack out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. The Jungle Rat 3.0 69 Camaro for Redline Oil, Franklin Electric, Smart Com, and Hoosier Tire. Mincer Motorsports helping out as well. Tyler?
So, Scotty, this is a tale of 2 days of testing. Left side of the racetrack, Tim Papp with low elapsed time of nearly everybody with the 364. Made a couple of good runs through the day, and Tommy Franklin made 4 trips to the ready line, 2 burnouts, and not 1 trip to the finish line. So that team not enjoying testing yesterday and went to work overnight to try and get everything ready to go for Q1.
And again, I spoke on it before the round started. Tim Papp has turned a lot of heads. If you're not paying attention to that red Corvette, you need to be. Already with a win this season. Of course, Franklin, multi-time world champion here on the right-hand side. Final call for WS Construction Pro Boost. Final call for Pro Boost for Q1. Final adjustments made. These drivers head to the top bulb on the Christmas tree.
Both drivers out and gone. Papp looks to be the quicker of the two. Nope, they're both the same. How about side-by-side 372.7s on both sides of the racetrack, and Tommy Franklin takes it to the top off speed. 206 miles per hour for the Jungle Rat 3, as Tim Papp only musters 202 miles per hour, and Tommy Franklin will go to the top of the board with side-by-side 372s down both sides of the racetrack here at Maryland International Raceway.
Yeah, watching it back on the flow, instant replay. Papp goes out there and hikes the front end. Goes right on down the center. And I guess Tommy Franklin will take a bad day of testing to go to the top of the charts in Q.
We've always said for forever the Franklin team doesn't really like to test, and I think yesterday was a proven point of that. Tommy comes out to go number 1, and now your final pair in Schweitzer Dynamics Pro Nitrous, your number 1 and number 2 in the championship standings, Amber Denton, number 2, and Marcus Butner, your points leader, right-hand side.
Yeah, Butner here on the right-hand side, fresh off a win at Virginia Motorsports Park out of Tobaccoville, North Carolina. The Butner Construction 69 Camaro for Redline Oil, Precision Shaft Technologies, and a Pat Musey Mill underneath the hood scoop. And Amber Denton, rookie in the category this season, the OG Jungle Rat 69 Camaro for Franklin Electric, SmartCom Home Technologies, Redline Oil, Hoosier Tires, and Jeff Pierce doing the tuning. Of course, Jay Cox tuning over here on this side of the racetrack for Marcus Butner. And I tell you, these rookies this season are looking stout. Amber Denton making a final round, Tim Papp with an event win already, and Tim Molnar going A to B just about every hit.
Scotty, it's really what you like to see. You know, you like to see people that make the step up or make a change in class category or series designation of where they're going to race, to come in and have strong seasons and strong outings, because it really builds you the confidence to keep coming and keep coming back. You know, you've seen Marcus Butner for a couple of years on tour. Jay Cox is still crew chiefing that hot rod. Jeff Pierce on the left-hand side, the second TFM car to take to the racetrack. You kind of expect to see Amber make close to the same run as Tommy. A little bit different combination for Amber's car, so it does operate a little bit different. Marcus Butner, you never know with Jay. Jay's liable to go 369 on this thing and surprise everybody, but you never really know what's going to happen. And right now, your final pair of nitrous is out there. Both shake the tires as Amber Franklin will coast down the quicker of the two, and Tommy Franklin will close the hot session of Q1 Number 1, 372.7. The number to beat in Pro Nitrous as they all go back to the pits and get ready for Q2 later this afternoon.
In your top 5 after that round, Franklin, of course, leading. Tim Papp, number 2. Billy Albert, number 3. Tony Wilson, number 4. And Buddy Perkinson, number 5. So exciting first round there of qualifying for a Schweitzer Dynamics Pro Nitrous cars. Getting ready for the dogfight category of Pro Boost. WS Construction Pro Boost presented by Tie Drive and P2 Contracting will be the next to hit the racing surface. So 24 WS Construction Pro Boost entries on the property in our first pair. Fire to life and head to the water box. Craig Sullivan, the Bet on Black 49 Mercury. For Wild Iris Engines, Sullivan Equipment, Hangstiffers, Summit, Liberty's Gears and Quick Drive. And Andy Jensen, left-hand side, the 68 Camaro out of Pennsylvania with the turbocharger and the small block underneath the flat hood of that blue Camaro. So an absolute dogfight to just get into the qualified field for WS Construction Pro Boost. And it starts right here in Q1 with Craig Sullivan on the right-hand side of the racetrack, Andy Jensen on the left-hand side. Sullivan with probably one of the coolest cars in Pro Modified with that 49 Mercury body.
All right, Scotty, like you said, this is the class where you just never know. You never know what's going to happen when they pull up to the starting line. You have the predictions that it's going to be a very fast program because you have 24 cars that are battling it out for 16 spots, which means you need to make the best run possible every time you come up to the starting line. Andy Jensen and Craig Sullivan are going to kick us off to see if they can do that right about now.
This pair going to make the trip to the top end. Tyler, 383 at 201 for Craig Sullivan. 385-1 at 190 for Andy Jensen.
Could tell that Sullivan had it laid up a little bit right there through the middle, or through the early part of the run. Can't tell if they were wanting to get down the racetrack or if something kind of slowed it down to end that way. But you could tell Sullivan's car labored a little bit early in the run, only like one flat to 60 foot. You normally see these cars down in the 930, 940 range, even in the heat. So Sullivan will set the pace for the class so far, 383. But really, like we've talked about, A to B, get down the racetrack, get yourself data moving forward, may be the name of the game here this weekend.
Well, with 24 entries, I can almost assure you that there's 24 different agendas out there. and each one of them, each one of them on their own mission. And to be the first 2 cars out in category, that's respectable.
Yep, you have to come out and go down the racetrack, because if you don't go down the racetrack, you learn nothing. You learn what not to do, but you don't know what was that not to do thing.
Yeah, what could have been.
Yep.
Sorry. Next car out on the racing service, Frank Falter out of Pasadena, Maryland, in his debut PDRA race in the Candyman 69 Camaro. Supposed to be facing off against Marvin Savoy. Savoy not making the call. But Frank Falter had a car that ran in the Elite Top Dragster division and garnered himself a few #1 qualifiers. I don't know if they sold that car, if they still have it at home, but he put together this Pro Boost entry and entered the Shark Tank. They've been out doing some private testing. Got all their ducks in a row. Decided to make their PDRA season debut here at Maryland International, their home state race. So Tyler, if you're Frank Falter, what are you looking for here? I'm trying to go through all the different agendas.
Kind of that, but not really.
Well, it started out great, but unfortunately.
976 down low for Frank, but you saw the car move just a little bit out of the groove. And being a new driver that's, well, not a new driver, but a new driver to a door car, a little move is a big move at that point. You don't know how far you can take that. So Frank wisely steps off the pedal. That team will go back, probably make a little bit of a steer change on the 4-link. And as you could see on the FloRacing live feed, it rolled over on the right rear and just drove left the entire run. So Falter coasts down to a 475, but that team learned something right there, and they'll make a small bar change and come back. Try to make a full pull in Q2 as the teammates will roll up. Tom Blenko left side and David Monday right side.
Now, how cool is this? You have to go side by side with your teammate here in the open round of qualifying, and you get data from both sides of the racetrack. Tom Blenko left side, the Kentucky-based 2021 Corvette for Buzzett Construction. David Monday race cars on the right-hand side out of Marysville, Tennessee, the 2022 Corvette. I believe it was at our season opener. David Monday, or was it Blenko? I don't remember. I know it was one of the two. Came out and laid down a great lap in the opening round of qualifying. Kind of turned a lot of heads. They're looking to duplicate that performance and see if they can do the same thing here in the opening round of qualifying at Maryland International. So the teammates start to make their way to the pre-stage bulbs on the Christmas tree. Crew members back away after making the final adjustments. Probably looking to be down in the 70s, I would garner guess. Take over the top two spots. And not going to happen for either.
Both go into severe tire shake. Blenko went to the left and Monday went to the right. Both will coast down.
AED Performance Extreme Pro Stock. We need you to the staging lanes at this time, please. AED Extreme Pro Stock. Presented by CR Powers HVAC. We need you to the staging lanes for Q1, please. So Jason Lee, Tommy Gray, the next pair out. Jason Lee here on the right-hand side out of Vernon, California, the Lard Machine. For Lions Custom Motorsports, Noonan Race Engineering, Hall Tech, PSI Superchargers, and Hoosier Tires. Coast Packing Company. And Tommy Gray out of Baltimore, Maryland on the left side of the racetrack. The Undertaker 2021 Corvette. Once again, AED Performance Extreme Pro Stock presented by CR Powers HVAC. We need you. So Tyler, Tommy Gray, one of them guys that can come out and just absolutely lay a lap down in the heat. Doesn't matter. This guy's been doing it for many years. And his experience a lot of times shows up and shows out here in qualifying.
Tommy did just that yesterday. He came off the ramps in T1, just went 366, just right down Broadway, as smooth as could be. So wouldn't surprise me to see Tommy Gray have something sort of like that 66 back in the tank. Maybe tune down a little bit, try to go a 68 or something like that. But that car made a really, really nice run yesterday, and Jason Lee, the exact opposite yesterday in testing. Struggled early or all day long with early tire shake. So that team has probably been to work overnight and trying to get something figured out in that Coast Packing Chevrolet. And neither one will make the trip. Jason Lee made it a little bit farther than he did yesterday. So starting to possibly get that thing back under control, as it's just been an animal so far this weekend. And Tommy Gray, same song and dance, but on the left-hand side of the racetrack.
So Chuck Alsh and Raymond Matos fire to life and pull through the water box. Matos on the left-hand side is 2020 Camaro. Chuck Alsh over here on the right-hand side at a Mount Airy, Maryland, the 68 Camaro from E. Baldwin and Brian Roche Racing Engines. Talking a little bit up here off mic, it feels like some of these guys may have a little bit too aggressive after that night shot last night. They might have thought, well, I got it now. I can put the same thing in the morning. We'll go A to B, and it's just not working out for a lot of them. But Raymond Matos and Chuck Alsh going to give it a shot right here.
And Scotty, you wonder if that pressure of 24 cars being on the grounds is getting in some people's heads of I've got to lay down a lap. I've got to lay down a lap, and really you just need to go down the racetrack, and it's putting a lap on the board that's respectable that you can learn from to come back on later in the day to speed up with. That's where that mentality where you see a Ricky Smith comes up here, just puts one on the board to give himself a shot at it. And really you see teams starting to get into that mindset as we get into the back half of Pro Boost. Raymond Matos, Chuck Alsh.
These two are going to make a full pull. To the top end they go. How about a 371.9 for Chuck Alsh? And Raymond Matos, 376.0 at 201. Great runs by both.
Saw Chuck come out yesterday and go something into the mid-60 range, backed it up just a hair, stretched the timers out a little bit, goes 371.9 at 206, and that's an important run for Chuck Alsh. Gets himself above a lot of names that did not make it down the racetrack, as Ed Burnley and Travis Harvey, your next two.
Burnley on the left-hand side out of Pasadena, Maryland, the Iron Man 69 Camaro for Southwind Refrigeration. And Travis Harvey here on the right-hand side, the Great Ghost out of Burlington, North Carolina for Vaughn Miles and Eric Holland. Red Top Motorsports, CK Motorsports, Miller Time Racing, B&D Automotive, Hoosier Tire, Proline, and LAT Racing Oils, all helping out Travis Harvey here on the right side of the racetrack. And this will be a great example of a Proline combination left side. The screw blower on the right-hand side. Also Proline below that, but to get to my point, the Pro Charger on the left side of the racetrack. We've talked about this, but I don't honestly anymore think that they have any advantage over the screw blown machines.
The only advantage that I have ever seen is it seems like the ProCharger combination has a smoother power application process than the Screw does. The Screw makes a little bit more horsepower as far as side-by-side comparisons, in my opinions, and from what I've seen through some of the numbers. But I feel the ProCharger, the way that the power is applied on hot racetracks, seems to be a little bit more tailored to what you need. I say that. Screw blowers have been very, very good in the heat here recently. These teams are getting a handle on both. Travis has trouble, and Ed Burnley out and gone. 368.3, 202 miles per hour for Ed Burnley, who is also 0-15. Letting go of the trans brake button, and Ed Burnley rockets to the top of the leaderboard here at Maryland International Raceway.
And that's another fellow that if you're not paying attention, you better be, because Ed Burnley has looked more comfortable behind the wheel and has had some impressive numbers in the Pro Boost since he switched over.
Really has. He's got some help from some of the Proline camp and is starting to get very comfortable in that car. You see on the FloRacing instant replay, if you're at home, that left front was hiked up a little bit, carried through the tough part of the racetrack for some teams. Wasn't tough for Ed Burnley. 368. Now the time to beat.
Two more ProCharge machines. Scott Lang here on the right-hand side of the racetrack out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. The Equalizer 2018 Camaro for AML Motorsports. Nissan of Rocky Mount, Infiniti of South Bay, Carmack Engineering, Still Moon Moonshine, and KA13. John Dock, left-hand side out of Benson, North Carolina. The lab-grown 69 Camaro for Southern Diamond, TKM Performance, and Nasty Racing. We spoke on John Dock yesterday during testing. I don't believe he qualified at the first race and then came out in the second race and made it to the semifinals in his Mustang and then comes here to Maryland in a different ride.
Yeah, Camaro. Completely swapped up. Went from Ford to Chevrolet. But I do believe it's the same power plant in the Camaro as it was into the Mustang. So swapped into this car, and John Dock is hoping to have a good outing. Comes in number 10 in the championship standings. Currently sits beside number 9, the AML Motorsports Keenan Allen owned Chevrolet Camaro right side, driven by Scott Lang. Started the season off with some good runs down in North Carolina at Piedmont and Rockingham. Is still looking to get back onto the horse here at PDRA competition. Comes in number 9 in championship standings.
Three fires and they're off. Scott Lang out of power, but John Dock going to make the pull. How about a 373.9 at 203? Great run for that team. 953 down low, 251.9 through the middle. Scott Lang launched and instantly had some issues, but John Dock will go to the number 3 qualified position with that lap. Final call for AED Pro Stock. Final call for AED Pro Stock, and first call for PDRA Pro 632, presented by PTC. Randy Weatherford next out here on the right side of the racetrack. The WS Construction 2021 Camaro out of Danville, Virginia. And Ty Tutterow out of Mocksville, North Carolina. The 69 Camaro for Quick Fuel, Ty Drive, and Red Line Oil there on the left-hand side.
So Ty Tutterow tested yesterday and looked pretty strong coming off of a D&Q in Virginia. Randy Weatherford, right-hand side. Made some good laps yesterday as well, but Ty Tutterow, I do believe, is one you need to keep an eye on this weekend. His father Todd on the headset, getting the Quick Fuel Chevrolet Camaro lined up exactly where he wants it. Try and put Ty down the racetrack on a solid Q1 outing.
And Weatherford riding a little bit of momentum, picked up a win down at Rockingham Dragway not long ago. So both these drivers looking to make some noise here at MIR this weekend.
Ty Tutterow, Randy Weatherford. Your next two to take to the racetrack for round number 1 of qualifying as they stage at the same time. Weatherford has trouble right-hand side. Ty Tutterow, 373, 205 miles per hour. Weatherford and Ty both were 950 down low. Right after the 60-foot clocks, Weatherford ran into tire shake. It looked like the car made a little bit of a move. It's Ty Tutterow's 373 will put him number 3 on the qualifying sheet as it stands now. After our next pair, Scotty, you'll see a bump spot illuminate the Coors Light and Napa Auto Parts scoreboards. So we are getting into the meat and potatoes of Pro Boost.
Another pair of Corvettes, Preston Tanner, left side of the racetrack out of Rinsler, Indiana. 2015 model for Talbot Manufacturing, Tanner Transport, and Manhattan Collision Center. And Steve King here on the right-hand side out of Strasburg, Virginia, the Savage. 2019 Corvette. Gene Pilot owns this machine for Pilot Electric, Resolution Racing Services, and G-Force Race Cars. A lot of eyes on Steve King this weekend. He's your defending World Series of Pro Mod winner. Pretty much the closest race to home. Or I shouldn't say that because we do race at BMP, so I guess that's a little closer to home. But you know, I'm from North Carolina. It don't matter. They're all not close.
Scotty didn't do so well in geography.
Geography wasn't a strong point.
Yeah, it wasn't really his thing. He relies on the GPS a lot.
But I will say this: Steve King's made a lot of laps here at Maryland International, and has a lot of fans up here this weekend. So
Gene Pilot, Jeff Miller, and the gang of the Savage Corvette is looking to continue moving forward. Here in Pro Boost comes into this event number 5 in the championship standings, and Preston Tanner is knocking on the door right behind him. Jeff Pierce, Chad Crawford, and the gang put that Corvette exactly where they want it. Father Andy looks on for Talbot Manufacturing.
And we talk about tuner John Salemi doing the tuning here on Steve King's machine, and they made some good runs in the heat yesterday, so we'll see if they can continue that momentum. And Preston Tanner, always a strong runner here in Pro Boost, and it's not going to work out for King, but Preston's going to go A to B. How about a 372.1 at 2:02, Tyler?
Nice, consistent lap for Preston right there. That's kind of right in Jeff Pierce's MO. He's going to go down the racetrack, give himself some data to work with. That will put him right above Ty Tutterow, puts Preston in at number 3, and will put Steve King on the current bump spot with 7:39. So Preston Tanner, nice smooth 372 lap down the Coors Light left-hand side of the racetrack here at MIR.
Two of those Proline Pro Charge machine, or one of them over here on the right-hand side of Johnny Camp out of Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, the Hells Bells 69 Camaro. NGK spark plugs, Tapman Electric, Camp Brothers Enterprises, Proline Turnkey Foundations. I believe Johnny has a runner-up this season so far. Number 3 in the point standings, and Kurt Stedding, left-hand side. One more, 69 Camaro for P2. Wyo Motorsports, Tie Drive, Redline Oil, NGK. Number 4 in the point standings, and your defending race winner here last year.
Race winner last year and a last winner on tour as Kurt Stedding picked up a win out at Virginia. Johnny Camp right side always seems to have something in the bag. Like whenever you know, it seems like all the cards are against a lane or a combination or something like that, and all of a sudden here comes Johnny Camp and that thing just checks out like a rocket ship. So you see Brandon Stroud make a pretty sizable move on where he wants that car lined up as he rolls into the stage beams on the right-hand side. We'll see if that move will put him in a different groove that other people have tried on the right-hand side of the racetrack, as we've seen a couple struggle to get through the tough part of the racetrack in the right-hand side. But Brandon Stroud, one of the best.
I was just gonna talk on that. Brandon Stroud, if you're watching a bunch of cars not go A to B, that is the guy you want in your corner.
Most definitely. Kurt Stedding and Johnny Camp, your next to last pair here in Pro Boost. Almost made the trip for Johnny Camp and Kurt Stedding, 374.4, 204 miles per hour. Camp's early numbers were better than Stedding's, just a slight too soon on bringing the timers in for Johnny Camp as he drove into tire shake out in the middle of the racetrack, as Stedding will sit number 6 and Camp will coast down to a number 10 current qualified spot.
Yeah, watching it here on the Flow replay, and Johnny made it a lot farther than the rest of them had, but then you can see the tires start to chatter and had to abort mission. Jason Harris and Melanie Salimi, number 1 and 2 in points. Salimi with the points lead. The Purple Rain Pontiac Firebird out of the G-Force Race Cars Camp for Resolution Racing Services and Ali Installations. And Jason Harris, your defending world champion there left side out of Pittsboro, North Carolina, the Party Time Camaro for Southern Diamond, SP Tools, Hoosier, Pro Charger, and LAT Racing Oil.
So, Scotty, we've seen kind of the tale of two different burnouts. Some teams have chosen for a shorter burnout to try and keep the tire cooler to roll through the starting line, maybe try to combat what they're seeing on the starting line. Melanie Salimi goes the opposite direction, stretches a big long burnout, making her own path. You wonder, does that now become something that comes into play?
Yesterday, during testing, if you remember, Ty Tutterow did his burnout, then we had to shut him off because there was a car stopped on the bottom end. That car probably sat there for 5 minutes. He never went back to the burnout box and made an absolutely beautiful A to B run. So,
yep,
makes you wonder about tire temps and track temps, and I'm sure these guys have done their homework, though.
For sure. So we'll see our final pair of Pro Boost. Another shout out for Pro 632. If you are not in the lanes, we need you now. Pro 632, if you're not in the lanes, we need you to be making your way here now. Pro Stock is at the ready line, and you are the next category up. Jason Harris, Melanie Salimi, 1 and 2 in the championship points. Melanie into tire shake. Jason Harris, straight and true, 371.3, 204 miles per hour for Jason Harris, 0-12 on the starting line, and that puts Jason Harris at number 2, and Ed Burnley pacing the field by 0.03 of a second, 368.3, your current number 1 qualifier after 1 round of Pro Boost qualifying. Jason Harris 2, Chuck Ulsh 3, Preston Tanner 4, and Ty Tutterow rounds out your top 5.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Unleash the power of performance with the Edelbrock Group. For over 85 years, our legendary brands have been trusted by automotive enthusiasts around the world. From street performance to racing, our innovative solutions, engineering, and testing deliver unmatched power, precision, and reliability. Proudly manufactured in our 7 facilities across the U.S., we stand by the quality of our craftsmanship. The Edelbrock Group, where passion meets performance.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win. Proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
We drive performance. We drive passion. A background in drag racing. And a future in all forms of motorsports. Because success in one sport isn't enough. Pushing ourselves to be the best. Climbing every mountain. Topping every peak. Until you see Fuel Tech everywhere.
AED Performance, Extreme Pro Stock, presented by CR Powers, HVAC, Jordan Insolin, and Elijah Morton. Morton here on the right-hand side of Swansboro, North Carolina, the Double Trouble 2019 Mustang for Allen Competition Engines, Larry Jeffers Race Cars, South State Development, Horizons East, and Carolina Utilities. And Jordan Insolin out of Lakeland, Florida, the left-hand side of the racetrack, the 09 Mustang. There's Jay's Performance and Repair, Talmadge Towing, PJP Construction, CJW Solutions, Dark Horse Coffee, Golden Gate Hotel and Casino, and Circa Sports Vegas. So Jordan Insolin looking better this season than I've ever seen that team look. There on the left side, Elijah Morton, well known in the category to drop big numbers. But as this is extremely difficult when it's hot like this and the racing surface is at the temperature that it's at, these three-pedal monsters, it seems to kind of elevate the situation of them trying to get to A to B.
They become a monster at that point, because you got to think, Scotty, when they drop the hammer on these things, they are trying to go from all of it on sitting still to all of it going that direction. And when the racetrack is warm like that, you have to change around the clutch can, make a lot of changes to make these cars apply the power and do so consistently and go down the racetrack. So Jordan Insolin and Elijah Morton will be the first couple that will give it a go here in Extreme Pro Stock. Morton not finding the setup, but Jordan Insolin does. 416 at 174. As Jordan Insolin grabs a hold of the racetrack and finds his way to the finish line, will be the benchmark elapsed time so far on the first pair. It's 4:16. It's Stephen Boone and Alan Drinkwater. Will carry forward to be your next two. Boone, left-hand side out of Weaverville, North Carolina. The 56-year-old contractor comes into this event number 4, the championship standings for Maxima Racing Oils and Allen Competition. Sits beside Alan Drinkwater. Drinkwater, the 29-year-old from Maitland, Florida. 2008 model Mustang, a past world champion in category here with the PDRA. Both of them are world champions as well. So for Seminole Paving and AED competition, Alan Drinkwater, Preston and the team, trying to get back into championship contention here this weekend as they have had a good start to the season. Currently sitting number 3 behind Chris Powers and Jeremy Huffman, I do believe. Only 3 points behind Powers is Drinkwater, so with every point on the qualifying sheet, or every spot on the qualifying sheet being worth a point, see if you'll use all the words that make sense. Qualifying matters. As Stephen Boone and Alan Drinkwater will battle it out right about now. Drinkwater gets a hold of the racetrack, will go down to a 4:18.0 at 174 miles per hour. Stephen Boone, 4:21. We'll put those two second and third, respectively. Chris Powers and Jeremy Huffman will bring up our final pair in category Pro 632. If you are not in the lanes, you are late. Pro 632, if you are not in the lanes, you are late. We need you now.
So Chris Powers next out on the left side of the racetrack out of Carlisle, Pennsylvania, the 2021 Camaro for Sonny's World Class Racing Engines. And CR Powers, HVAC. Your defending world champion wears that number 1 on the window left side. And Jeremy Huffman here on the right-hand side out of Catawba, North Carolina, the 3V Performance 2010 Cobalt. For Lake Lookout Campground, Mike Huffman Enterprises, Line-to-Line Coatings, Dellinger Fabrication, Hillside Auto, and PRS. Jeremy picked up his first ever, I believe, 660 man at Virginia at our last event. And it was an epic first round matchup between these two machines. So Huffman now leads the point standings. Powers number 2, Drinkwater number 3. Jordan Insulin's 4:16 looking strong here in the opening round. Let's see if either of these drivers can eclipse that mark.
Scotty, that's another one that's been working at it for the last couple of years, really finding consistency as well as Jordan Insulin. Would love to see that team have a good outing here this weekend, and what a story would it be for Jordan Insulin to get his first Extreme Pro Stock PDRA 660 main and do it with the power purse from CR Powers and take $10,000 back to Florida.
Well, he was 1 round short there at the East Coast Nationals, or I'm sorry, the Mid-Atlantic Showdown. He was in the semifinals. But right now, all eyes on Chris Powers, Jeremy Huffman. CR Powers HVAC providing the power purse here in AED Performance Extreme Pro Stock presented by CR Powers HVAC. And Powers not going to make the trip. Huffman 4:13.0 in the heat of the day, Tyler.
Very nice lap for Jeremy Huffman. Your last winner on tour will finish the first round of qualifying as number 1 qualifier. Jeremy Huffman in the North Carolina-based team has to feel really, really good right about now.
Yeah, and not a knock on the team at all, but they tend to struggle in the first couple rounds of qualifying, and normally it's Q3 when they come into play. But
I really think Huffman thrives on drama at times, because he usually will just leave us all lingering out there like, where's it coming from? But not this week, as Pro 632 brought to you by Performance Torque Converters, PTC. Dustin Mewborn and the gang, they are on the midway down by the Hot Rod Diner. So stop in and see Dustin and team if you need any transmission or converter needs here this weekend.
And these cars are running for $8,000. The power purse presented by Procom ELS. And our first pair, Carson Hoyle out of Hickory, North Carolina, the 69 Camaro here on the right side of the racetrack for ATI Performance Products. Pat Musey horsepower between the frame rails. Then Bobby Bladen, the 67 Chevy 2, the You might even see at a car show getting an award. This is a beautiful piece on the left side of the racetrack, and I'm telling you, Bobby was laying down some consistent runs out here in testing yesterday.
Really was. It was kind of high 420 range. Really aggressive down low. You could see that car really work hard the early 15, 20 feet of the run.
So Carson Hoyle right side, Bobby Bladen left side. A great first pair here in Pro 632.
Top end of the racetrack, Carson Hoyle, quicker of the two, 425. Bobby Bladen, 429. Good start to Pro 632 with a side-by-side drag race. See Bladen's win lights on. Carson a little bit tardy off the starting line. So at this time, reaction times don't matter, so that's okay. But Carson Hoyle, your provisional number one, 425.
Pair 63 split windows. Going to be side by side here in pair number 2, Gary Hood and George Coleman. Coleman on the near side of the racetrack. The Silver Machine out of Hayes, Virginia for Cams. Platinum Coast Properties, Cousins Towing, and Julian Donnie Wilson. Gary Hood, the inspector out of Severn, Maryland on the left-hand side, and that SLM sponsored 63 split window. So these drivers, Tyler, got to be pretty excited. A lot of them have had some great performances already in testing, but running for $8,000. Brought to you by Procom ELS, Power Person. And like I just said a little bit ago, what a great opportunity for our drivers to go after accelerated purses.
Exactly, and really for some teams, that could be the difference in them making the next race. That could be the difference of running the entire series. So really cool stuff when companies are signing on, and big shout out to Procom ELS for that here this weekend in Pro 632. One of our closest categories when it gets down to qualifying sheets and eliminations. As Gary Hood and George Coleman here in round one of qualifying, thinking about it.
We're going to have a burn down in qualifying?
Be a first.
Well, Kyle walks out, tells him, let's go, fellas. It ain't getting no cooler out here. .434 for George Coleman, 447 for Gary Hood, and you almost have to wonder if maybe that added heat didn't help out their performances from sitting there.
I wondered if they had a side pod or something. I was just wondering that one was new. Don't see that a lot in qualifying. So as we continue on here in Pro 632, Nicole Liberty and Jason Ventura, your next two.
Yeah, Nicole Liberty there, left side of the racetrack at Marine City, Michigan. NGK Spark Plugs Liberty's Gears machine is first full season, I believe, with us in the PDRA, and has definitely made her presence felt in this category. And Jason Ventura here on the right-hand side out of Pompano Beach, Florida. The Procom ELS 70 Camaro for HRE. to 4:25.8. The mark to beat right now, laid down by Carson Hoyle. Nicole Liberty left side. Jason Ventura here on the right. And not the pass that either driver was looking for. Ventura's going to be the quicker of the two at a 4:63.8 at 130. Nicole Liberty coasts through it only 101 miles an hour and a 5 flat.
Scotty, it almost sounds like Nicole's car didn't go into high gear or jumped out of gear or something like that. Very uncharacteristic. Same thing with Jason. Just kind of a weird, like, get to right past the 330, and both of them said, "Nah, I'm good. I don't want to run the full 660." It's Brian Kloss and Jeff Pittman, your next two.
Kloss on the left-hand side for Superior Speed and Custom, the 06 Cavalier out of the Calvin Starcher camp. Injector maintenance on board that hot rod. And Jeff Pittman here on the right-hand side out of Hickory, North Carolina. Hickory Enclosed Trailer Sales 68 Chevelle for Greenbrier and Barry Allen Race Engines. And Pittman came out yesterday. I believe the first pass I watched, he struggled, and then the second pass, I'm pretty sure he was low in category. So Pittman, a rookie in the category this season. Brian Kloss has been running this class for a few years. Pittman has shown some signs of greatness, looking for a little consistency in those performances right now. This pair fires off to the top, and they go. How about a 427 at 168 for Pittman? 429.2 at 166 for Brian Kloss, and they'll go to number 2 and 3 on the qualifying sheet. Liberty's Gears Pro Street presented by Mincer Motorsports. We need you. Liberty's Gears Pro Street presented by Mincer Motorsports. We need you for Q1, please. Kyle Salmonen and Lexi Tanner. Lexi Tanner here on the right-hand side for Tabert Manufacturing, Manhattan Collision. Pat Musey horsepower. Came out, made a stellar run in testing yesterday. And Kyle Salmonen out of Marine City, Michigan. The Matt's Electric 03 Cavalier. Also Pat Musey horsepower. Underneath the hood scoop and our most recent winner on tour. So number 3 and 4 in the point standings. Lexi with a runner-up finish this season. Of course, Kyle picking up the big win at our last event. So right now need to run quicker than a 4:25.8 of Carson Hoyle. Not going to be lucky. Kyle's going to make the pass. 4:27.0 at 161. So he'll go to number 2. Final pairing category. Here in PDRA Pro 632, presented by PTC with the Procom ELS Power Purse. It's going to be Jeff Melnick and Walt Lanigan. Melnick, a past world champion on the left-hand side out of Hubbard, Ohio. The 2020 Camaro for Greenbrier Excavating. PTP and Mickey Thompson. They've struggled a bit. Finally got it all together at our last event. Ended up runner-up. And Walter Lanigan out of Savannah, Georgia, the 2010 GTO for CNC Pumping Services. Here on the right-hand side. Walter, your current points leader. Jeff Melnick, number 2. And Walt Lanigan won at our season opener and had a semifinal appearance at race number 2. And I'll tell you, Walt's looking good. Got Jamie Miller and his team of experts tuning on that machine. The Red Hat Mafia for Lanigan. And Jeff Melnick appears to be returning back to championship form in the Greenbrier Excavating Hot Rod.
Check out Jeff Melnick, 420 with a 0, 168 miles per hour for Greenbrier Excavating to take Melnick all the way to the top. We'll put Carson Hoyle number 2, Walt Lanigan number 3 with the 426 you just saw down the right-hand side. Kyle Salmon in number 4, and Jeff Pittman will round out your top 5.
Yeah, he went to the top by a lot.
He definitely came in with a game plan, and game plan was very well executed for Jeff Melnick, Alan O'Brien, and Team Greenbrier.
So obviously we'll see this field tighten up as they go into Q2. This is, like Tyler said earlier, one of our most tightly contested categories. So we'll be a little quick, clean up there out of the racing surface. Pro Street, you should be in the staging lanes. Super Street, you are on standby. Get them ready to go. Pro Street, you should be in the lanes ready to go.
Redline oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Unleash the power of performance with the Edelbrock Group. For over 85 years, our legendary brands have been trusted by automotive enthusiasts around the world. From street performance to racing, our innovative solutions, engineering, and testing deliver unmatched power, precision, and reliability. Proudly manufactured in our 7 facilities across the U.S., we stand by the quality of our craftsmanship. The Edelbrock Group, where passion meets performance.
This is what you save your lunch money for. Welcome
Redline oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win. Proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
We drive performance. We drive passion, a background in drag racing, and a future in all forms of motorsports. Because success in one sport isn't enough. Pushing ourselves to be the best. Climbing every mountain. Topping every peak. Until you see Fuel Tech everywhere.
So our first pair completing the burnout process, Scott Kincaid out of Thornhill, Tennessee, left side of the racetrack. And Michael Martin here on the right-hand side, 69 Camaro.
So side by side, first generation Camaros will start us off here in Liberty's Gears Pro Street, presented by Mintzer Motorsports. Scott Kincaid, left side, has made a number of runs here in PDRA Pro Street competition over the years, and got a guy making his first PDRA Pro Street run in Michael Martin. This is not his first run on 10.5s. The Juice Man has made a lot of laps over the years in this Chevrolet Camaro, but this is his PDRA debut here this weekend. Scott Kincaid and Michael Martin going to kick us off here in Pro Street as both strike the tire right off the starting line. We'll coast down. So like we've talked about all day long, hot conditions, and when it's hot outside, traction's limited, and now you go to a small tire category that's even more reliant upon a racetrack. So now this becomes a big-time tuners game. So we go into Pro Street and Super Street.
Man, Tyler, you didn't tell me about the perks of getting to work with you, buddy. I've had more people come up here and offer us food than ever before.
I think they
want you to eat. I'm already swole. Yeah, they want you to get some weight on you. But here we go. Our next pair, Shelby Kendrick, left side, out of Hurt, Virginia, the 73 Challenger. Second appearance for this machine on tour. And Jerry Morgano back with us from Apollo Beach, Florida. The Copperhead 02 Mustang for Ameriprise Financial, DeSoma Racing Engines, Atomizer, Bullseye, Mintzer Motorsports, and Carroll's Racecraft. And as you spoke on, Tyler, this is more of a go A to B right now. We do still have 2 more sessions for our professional categories. So if you can go A to B right now, get you a little data, you can come back and load it up on the next 2 attempts. Super Street, we need you. Shelby was going to make the run, but lifts a little bit early, 469.
Looked like Shelby's put a hole out. You could see one zoomie on the right side of the race car. Looked like it put a hole out. Said some raw fuel pumping out of it. Jerry Morgano didn't sound like he lost traction or anything like that. Just ran into some issues. So Morgano will coast down. Shelby and the team will go back and look things over. So we carry on with Joe Thomas and Jake Blaine.
Joe Thomas here on the right-hand side out of Charlottesville, Virginia, the American Dream 67 Chevy 2 Nova. Concrete Mafia, Clyde Smith Heating and Air. An absolutely stunning race car here on the right side of the racetrack. And Jake Blaine out of Port Huron, Michigan, the Blaine Brothers 2017 Mustang. And following the Blaine Brothers on Facebook, they have been doing some testing and pretty much getting their teeth kicked in, and then they find something and it goes well, and then they try something else. They've been doing an immense amount of testing in that Mustang.
Which is great to see because that shows the dedication of the teams that we have here at the PDRA. Jake Blaine and his camp have been working hard. They changed stators and converters between T3 and T4 yesterday. T4 comes out and the car is all over the wheelie bars pretty much all the way down the racetrack. So Jake and team, the Blaine brothers, they look like they have started to turn the tide on the 2017 model Mustang out of Michigan. And Joe Thomas right side, the Chevy 2, usually a 420 player. So he'll try to put something A to B in that hot rod to go right down the race course.
So
Super Street. If you are not on your way, we need you now. Super Street. If you're not on your way to the lanes, we need you now. Super Street. Bring them on.
And you can hear it pedaling out there. 466 for Jake Blaine. Joe Thomas goes through at a 451. They'll go to number 1 and 2. That A to B hit, pretty important. That's obviously not as fast as they want to go or need to go, but they've got some data, and they're on the qualifying sheet. Bill Devine out next on the right-hand side out of Muskegon, Michigan. The Bullseye Power 01 Mustang for Mickey Thompson, Maxima Oil, Fuel Tech, Ram Clutches, Mincer Motorsports, and Turbo Smart. Bill Devine piloting the only car in category with the clutch in it. And Mikey Cecina on the left-hand side out of Henderson, Colorado, the KTR Racing 03 Ford Mustang. Mikey made some impressive hits out here yesterday in testing. Kind of the exact opposite over here on the right-hand side as Bill struggled throughout test day, but veteran behind the wheel, established team, should have no issues, or at least hopefully have no issues going A to B today. Mikey knocks the tire off it right on the hit. Bill Devine went a little farther out and then got up on the tire as well. So Devine coached through it at 6:34.5. Mikey at 8:33.9. And as Tyler was saying, much smaller tire for these guys to try to navigate the 660-foot race course here at Maryland International. So it just adds more issues to the equation. And Marty Marilot and Ty Casper are going to be our next pair out. Marilot behind the wheel of Fox Body, left side of the racetrack out of Archibald, Ohio, the Blue Streak. Haltech, Atomizer, Motion Raceworks, Pro Charger, TBM Brakes, Blaine Brothers Racing, and Victory Wiring on board his hot rod. And Ty Casper here on the right-hand side, the 05 Ford Mustang for Casper Performance Edge and Victus Sports. Casper on and off the gas, and Marty Marilot never getting up to full speed. Casper goes a 5:01.4 at 118. Puts him at number 4 in the turbocharged entry. Marty Marilot, something not happy inside that Ford Mustang, 7:07.6. Andy Manson here on the right-hand side of the racetrack out of Manassas, Virginia. The 96 Ford Mustang, and Dan Norris all the way from Brighton, Michigan. They're on the left-hand side for PSI Valve Springs, his 2022 Ford Mustang. Noonan Race Engineering, Gutierrez Brothers, SSI, Mentor Motorsports, M&M Trans, Neil Chance Converters, and White Safety Products. Dan Norris strikes the tire, 885, 484.2 for Andy Manson, who also struck the tire but recovered. 181 miles an hour, top mile an hour for Andy Manson back there in the number 4 qualified position. Joel Winsley Jr. here on the right-hand side of the racetrack out of Dearborn, Michigan, the 2016 Camaro. And the big man, Fletcher Cox, the training day 1969 Camaro on the left-hand side of the racetrack. So yes, that is the Fletcher Cox. Used to be with the Philadelphia Eagles. Has owned at race cars for many years. Now finds himself behind the wheel of this beautiful 69 Camaro. Phil Schuler doing the tuning. And watching Fletcher here so far this season in the PDRA, you would think he's been driving race cars his whole life.
He's done a really good job. Fletcher is a very strong student of the sport. He's always had a deep love for drag racing, and really you see a really strong team over there with Nova Joe Albright also on board, and Phil Schuler can tune anything from a top fuel dragster to a funny car to a pro street car. Phil made a couple of big moves on this car. As you can see looking at it on the FloRacing live feed, they've made a pretty strong swing to where that they have that car lined up out of the group. So they are going to make a swing at it. Maybe fighting some bald spots on the starting line down there. So you see cars moving around trying to find the adequate starting line that they are looking for. But you'll see Fletcher Cox and Joel Winsley Jr. right about now. Schuler made the right call. Fletcher out and gone 4:15. 181 miles per hour will put him number 1 on the leaderboard. Fletcher Cox 108 down low as Phil Schuler stepped it out of the groove, and some old school step it out of the groove and find you a spot. And that is exactly what Phil and team did. Is Fletcher Cox will take it A to B and go 4:15.
And from where I'm from, Tyler, they call that a country mile. He is leaps and bounds ahead of the field right now, but still more to go. And Bill Riddle and Chris Tootin are next. Tootin on the left-hand side. The Muffler Shop of Columbia 87 Mustang for torque converter services. Got a runner-up at our season opener down at Galant Motorsports Park. Had catastrophic engine failure during that pass. Fire and everything. Got it all fixed up. And Bill Riddle in the Corrigan Race Fuels 89 Camaro here on the right-hand side. Mickey Thompson, Cigar City Garage, SSI Superchargers, Motorsports Unlimited, and Redline Oil helping that team out. And Riddle's had his share of problems this year. Found the Virginia Motorsports Park retaining wall. And then in roughly, I'd say probably 3 weeks at most, had that car turned around, back together, and back at the racetrack. Impressive feat for the Riddle Racing team.
That team was hard at work back at home in Howell, Michigan, getting that car back together, as Chris Tootin and Bill Riddle will be your next two to battle it out. Chris Tootin, better of the two, 434, 188 miles per hour. Riddle slow off the jump, then did not have enough vehicle speed as the power tried to come in and took the tire off.
Yeah, that thing was real soft trying to get off the starting line, but Chris Tootin goes to number 2. Fletcher Cox still way out in front of the field. Here comes some more of the heavy hitters. Richard Reagan and Tim Essick. Reagan on the left-hand side out of Rutledge, Tennessee. The Reagan Excavating 91 Mustang out of Tim's garage. Resembles a Hot Wheels car, I like to say. And Tim Essick here on the right-hand side in the Brown Sugar 2018 Mustang for Essick Motorsports. Pro Charger, Billet, UPR, PRS, Fuel Tech, and ATI. Essick, this is more or less of a hometown race for him, as he has been up and down MIR a gazillion times. And I've noticed something blatantly obvious right there. His burnout was only about 3 feet long.
Yeah, can tell that the first handful of cars struggled getting off the starting line. It looks like it's punched some holes in it and got some bald spots down there, so teams are moving around a lot more aggressively on the starting line, trying to find a spot that suits them. And one thing that is for sure is it is warm outside, and the rear slicks do not need as much heat in them because there is atmospheric heat that has already got them warmed up. So Tim Essick, short, sweet burnout just to clean the tire off. Richard Reagan will sit beside. Essick with a quick pedal to go 447, and Reagan not having as much luck.
Final pair in category. Ethan Stedding and Blake Denton will close out the Liberty's Gears Pro Street presented by Menser Motorsports. Stedding on the left side of the racetrack, your defending world champion out of Carnegie, Pennsylvania, the College Fund 2022 Camaro for P2 Contracting. Redline Oil, YO Motorsports, Tie Drive, and NGK Spark Plugs. And Blake Denton here on the right-hand side behind the wheel of Bonnie. 69 Camaro, formerly campaigned by Lizzie Musey. And nothing has changed, paying homage to her. And her legacy lives on with Blake Denton behind the wheel. Redline Oil, Franklin Electric, SmartCom, and Hoosier Tire on board that Musey-powered Camaro.
Yeah, Scotty, it's been a tough session for pretty much everybody in Pro Street from the media room, except for Fletcher. Still a tough one for Fletcher as well, as he had to drive it around. But Ethan Stedding and Blake Denton. Ethan, past world champion. Blake comes in with the points lead and got a couple of round lead on everybody right now. So,
but one thing to keep in mind too, Tyler, is that Fletcher's utilizing a nitrous combination, as is Blake Denton here on the right side.
Yep, that's correct. So one thing that Ethan Stedding's car seemed to do very well last season was get down the racetrack when not many could, with Ty and Todd Tutterow on board making the calls. And right side Blake Denton with Jeff Pierce. making the final decisions on that one.
You can see Popeye Pat out there on the starting line watching this machine run.
Our final pair in category. We'll see if they can wrangle the tough Maryland International Raceway racing surface here in Q1. Steading runs into issues. Blake out and gone. 4:08, 199 miles per hour is Blake Denton. We'll go to the number 1 spot. 4:08 will be low elapsed time for the session. Fletcher Cox 2, Chris Tootin 3, Tim Essick 4, and Joe Thomas number 5 in a tough first session for Pro Street. Ethan Stedding took the tire off right out there and goes number 14.
Well, we keep talking about how tough it is to go A to B in the heat, and the steamroller tires are gone, and we bring out the pizza cutters, the smallest tires. Super Street. PDRA Super Street presented by Brian's Heating and Cooling in our first pair, Dustin Mewborn and Blake Molnar. Dustin over here on the right side of the racetrack at Muscle Shoals, Alabama. The 91 Mustang. And Blake Molnar left side at a Hinckley, Ohio. The 05 Mustang for Manzo Sports and Spirits, Motorsports Unlimited, Big 3 Racing, Tank Fab, Pro Racecraft Engineering, and TIFF Transmissions. And Blake having to go back and try again on the burnout. In the pits, left side of the back half, Magna Fuel Top Sportsman ladder, we need you. Left side of the ladder, we need you. So if you thought it was tricky to get the Pro Mods down with all the horsepower and the big tires, nearly as much horsepower here in these machines, but not even close to the same amount of tire. We'll see who has it together here in the opening round of qualifying. These two making it look not so hard. 498.8 for Blake Molnar, 495.6 for Dustin Mewborn. And as you could tell, Tyler, we were up here talking about it off mic, but they eased them off the starting line there and let the turbocharger work later on.
Yeah, that's the benefit of the turbo cars. You can kind of walk it off the starting line a little bit, get the tire moving, and then slowly bring the power in. So you'll see Brad McBride, left-hand side. Yes.
Wait a minute.
That Brad McBride.
We have gone from a Volkswagen to a Ford Mustang?
Yeah. Caught me by surprise, too. So Brad McBride and Michael Webb, the next pair, a couple of Fox bodies. I don't know what to say about Brad McBride. You know, always gave us a really cool, different viewpoint of the V-dub. I don't know where the V-dub is. Hopefully she's just in surgery or something. You know,
well,
I don't know.
You know that old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. And it's Fox body Mustangs that have pretty much taken over this category so far this season.
True, but the V-dub's cool.
The V-dub was way cool.
I don't know if anything will ever beat the V-dub moment where I might have slipped and called it Herbie when Rick Bride had about half a racetrack on somebody in his first round of competition. So
that thing would 60 foot like nobody's business.
It would run out of everybody's life in the first 60 feet. And then the little motor would run out of steam. But McBride looks like a nitrous oxide entry, I do believe, left-hand side with Michael Webb sitting beside him. So we will see how McBride's Mustang debut does here in Super Street. Top Sportsman, left side of the ladder. If you're not here, we need you now. Top Sportsman, left side of the ladder. If you are not here, we need you now.
Oh, big backfire there for Michael Webb. And Brad McBride just going to cruise on down through there, going A to B, 516 at 141 miles an hour. That's a shame for Michael Webb, as they have had some personal bests here in testing recently. So they will get Michael Webb pushed back off the racing surface. Maybe he'll just start it up and drive down. There's that option. So Michael and the crew go back and get her tuned up and ready for Q2. In the pit area, all back half top sportsmen, we need you to the staging lanes for round number 1, please. All back half top sportsman cars, we need you to the staging lanes for first round of eliminations, please. Next pair, J.C. Beatty Jr., left side of the racetrack out of Baltimore, Maryland, the ATI Performance Products 2014 Camaro. And Dan Wetstein out of La Plata, Maryland, the Red Velvet 91 Mustang, your defending world champion in the category. Essick Motorsports, Pro Charger, Atomizer, ATI, Mincer Motorsports, and UPR Products, all on board Wetstein's machine here on the right side. Looking good in the Red Velvet machine. How about a 486.9 at 146 miles per hour? 544 for J.C. Beatty Jr., but Wetstein making it look easy on this hot condition. Of course, he had her wick down, I'm sure. Not the performance that we're used to seeing out of that Mustang, but very impressive shot there by Dan Wetstein. Carson Perry and Matt Shallow. Our next pair out, Perry on the left-hand side. Team Greenbrier in that 2000 Camaro, fresh off a runner-up finish at our last event. But probably the story of the weekend, Matt Shallow here on the right-hand side for Canerium Race Engines, 1320 Fab, Tyndall's Tools, Mincer Motorsports. Matt Shallow at race number 2 was in his 2000 model Camaro and had something leaking out of it, and unfortunately made contact with the wall right after the launch. His team went back, went to work, put together this absolutely stunning Camaro you see on the right-hand side of the racetrack. And I want to say, what did he go, Tyler? On his first 465 on his first full pull. So that's very impressive for this team out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. To bring a brand new machine out and on your first full pull go 465. Right now that would be number 1 by a long shot.
Carson Perry been making some noise after a learning curve outing at Galot. Comes out to Virginia, and I do believe he went all the way to the final round. If he wasn't in the final, I know he was deep in the elimination rounds. Runner up, see? If I take notes like Scotty, I know this thing. Carson Perry, Matt Shallow. Shallow, probably the story of the weekend so far. We'll see if that storybook story can continue. Storybook story. That was, yeah, that made sense. Words are hard. both out and gone. Carson Perry, 479, quicker of the two. Matt Shallow, 480, as both cars go right down the racetrack and go 1 and 2 respectively here in Super Street.
Connor McGee, Austin Vincent, number 1 and 2 in points. Austin here on the right-hand side out of Central City, Kentucky for Vincent Performance. The 88 Fox Body. Drummond Race Design, Nitrous Express, Davis Technologies, Steph's Fabrication, Jessel Diamond Pistons, and Maxima Racing Oil. Austin picked up his first ever win in PDRA Super Street at our last event. And Connor McGee, the 90 Mustang for Brian's Heating and Cooling with the Fulton Power Plant. And how cool is this? Both these boys driving their father's race cars.
Yeah, Scotty, that's really special for both families, not only the kids driving the cars, but also the dads. You know, something special about that. You know that, I know that. We've both been in those situations before, so it's pretty cool to drive the race car that your dad drove.
And not just driving them, performing well, winning races. I mean, like I said, 1 and 2 in points.
These two young guns have definitely found themselves a category that has welcomed them in and that they can call home for a little bit of their careers as they continue to grow. But Connor McGee and Austin Vincent, our final pair here in Super Street. 1 and 2 in the championship point standings. Only 4 points separate them coming in. Connor McGee grabs a handful of steering wheel and goes right to the top of the leaderboard, 474 at 151 miles per hour. And Austin Vincent goes number 2, 478.
My man was all over the place, one side to the other, but he got it done. Connor McGee, number 1, 474. Austin Vincent, number 2. Carson Perry, number 3. Matt Shallow, number 4. And Dan Wetstein, number 5.